For the residents of Mobile, Alabama, the year 1839 will go down in the history books as the year that sucked. I'm your host, Stu Donald. Let's head to the Delta. As the final seconds of the old year echoed from the chimes of the grandfather clock, the sound blended with cheers and hollers to form a joyous cacophony. The cream of Mobile society clinked glasses, kissed, and reveled in the hope that 1839 promised. The great room of Jonathan Emanuel's mansion had hosted many a dignitary in the 3 years since its completion, but few events as jolly as this New Year's gathering. Outside, the sounds of the Cowbellion de Rankin Society rang throughout the city as America's first mystic society celebrated the new year with a parade that hinted at Mardi Gras of the future. Life was good in the second busiest port on the Gulf Coast, which also happened to be the number 2 cotton-producing state in the nation. King Cotton boomed, and with it, Mobile rolled. Mobile Bay was dotted with ships from all over the world daily. Construction would soon conclude on Barton Academy, Mobile's new state-of-the-art public school. Busy streets buzz with people walking to and fro, oblivious of what lie ahead just a few months down the road. In the sweltering summer of 1839, Mobile was a city on edge. The port was busy, sure, and cotton was king, but beneath the prosperity brewed a silent terror. It arrived without fanfare, unseen, unfelt, until the fevers came. It began in August among sailors returning from Havana and Veracruz, cities long haunted by a disease the Gulf feared deeply: yellow fever. Within weeks, dock workers fell ill, shopkeepers collapsed behind counters, families sealed their doors. The symptoms were unmistakable: chills, headache, nausea, and then the telltale yellowing of the skin and eyes. Some recovered, most did not. Jaundice, black vomit, bleeding gums, the disease devoured from within. Early morning, horse-drawn carts carried bodies to the Church Street graveyard. The dead were so many that Mobile had to open Magnolia Cemetery just to keep up. By October, over 450 lives had been lost. Windows were shut at night, not for warmth, but to block out what people called poisoned air. Streets fell silent. Yellow flags marked infected homes, and those who dared enter wore gloves and masks soaked in vinegar and camphor. Then came a heroism of a different sort. The Can't Get Away Club, a group of businessmen, doctors, and clergy who stayed behind when thousands fled. They cooked, they nursed, they buried. Their infirmary on Conception Street offered ice, medicine, and comfort for the dying. This wasn't science, it was compassion. Medicine in 1839 was crude. No one knew the true cause. Mosquitoes, the real culprits, wouldn't be suspected for decades. Instead, Mobile blamed fog, coal gas, divine punishment. The yellow fever of 1839 was more than a disease, it was a crucible. From it, Mobile learned the cost of vulnerability and the strength of community. So next time you pass Church Street Graveyard, remember, beneath the ground lie the stories of those who stayed, who served, who stood through the fever. Despite the outbreak, Mobile was still a city on the rise. Cotton exports were vigorous, ships crowded the bay, and stately hotels were rising to rival those of Boston and New York. But in early fall, the promise of prosperity would go up in flames. Literally. On the evening of September 9th, a fire broke out in downtown Mobile. Fueled by dry winds and an urban core built almost entirely of timber, the blaze quickly grew into what became known as the Great Fire of Mobile. Entire blocks vanished overnight. Wooden storefronts, warehouses, and homes succumbed to the inferno. With no centralized fire department, volunteers formed desperate bucket brigades, but they were outmatched. Hundreds of structures fell. Ashes blanketed the port, embers drifted across rooftops. Mobile's bustling heart had been gutted. If that wasn't enough, just weeks later, the city faced a series of new, suspicious fires. Between October 2nd and 9th, 4 separate blazes erupted. Many residents believe these fires were intentionally set, a malicious act during one of Mobile's most vulnerable moments. The worst began at the Mansion House Hotel, then tore down Royal Street like a tide of flame. Within hours, 13 blocks were reduced to ash. Among the casualties stood the unfinished Government Street Hotel. Designed in grand Greek Revival style by architect Charles B. Dakin, its soaring arches and columned portico were meant to rival Manhattan's Astor House. The Mobile Advertiser described it as much larger and certainly more handsome. Now it stood in ruin. Walls charred, arches scorched, dreams undone. All of this unfolded as the city still grappled with the yellow fever epidemic, compounding fear and death. Mobile's future teetered on the edge. Property values, once soaring in the prosperous years before these events, collapsed, falling from $27 million to just $13 million by decade's end. Banks buckled under the pressure. Trade dried up, and the city's government, dependent on property taxes, defaulted on loan interest and struggled under old debts dating back to the Creek War. The human toll was staggering. Nearly 1,500 people were left homeless. Aid societies like the Red Cross and fraternal organizations provided relief and shelter in locations like the German Relief Hall and the City Armory. Relief poured in from faith-based organizations, fraternal groups, and everyday citizens who opened their doors to strangers in need. While the destruction touched all corners of Mobile, it was the poorest who bore the brunt. Their survival hinged on charitable organizations prioritizing basic human needs: shelter, food, and clothing. Ambitions for political reform or civic expansion gave way to more urgent demands. The Yellow Fever Outbreak, catastrophic urban fires, and a lingering economic recession converged into what historians would later call the city's triple blows. This wasn't just a year of disaster, it was a reckoning. A moment when a city, brought to its knees, had to reimagine its future from the ashes. Yet from the destruction came resilience. The city banned wood construction downtown. New fire codes followed. Brick and stone replaced timber. Greek Revival architecture flourished in homes, churches, and civic buildings. By 1852, Mobile had risen again. The Battle House Hotel opened, designed by Isaiah Rogers, architect of the very buildings the Government Street Hotel once aspired to rival. The city had learned, and it had endured. The fires of 1839 weren't just disasters, they were inflection points. Mobile lost its past, but gained the foundation for a more enduring future. The city of Mobile has suffered many a setback over its 300-plus year existence. The Great Depression, Civil War, and countless hurricanes have delivered body blow after body blow. Like the phoenix of Greek mythology, Mobile keeps rising from the ashes, both figurative and literal. It's a resiliency that would make Herodotus, Hesiod, and Ovid proud. After all, these pale in comparison to 1839, Mobile's worst year in history.
I wish I could click that like button and that subscribe button. Y'all make it look so easy and fun to do. Like, look here, I can click a like and subscribe button and you can't. Well, I can lick myself, so there.